I want to thank you for joining me today. And before we get started, as always, all messages that are released on this channel are my truth. And that is exactly what it is and what it always will be. And that is my truth. Now, my truth consists of a bunch of experiences that I gained clarity from, which ultimately took me back to the real me, which is truth. Now, when I try to convince you that my truth is the gospel, however, my truth is the gospel for me. That does not make it the gospel for you, nor will I ever try to make it the gospel for you. By me being on this platform, I am simply placing breadcrumbs on a path that I've already walked. Now, you find yourself on a similar path and you resonate with said breadcrumbs and you say, you know what, I like that. I want to follow that. And that's cool. If not, that is cool as well. My purpose is to assist those who are ready to get out of their own way. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's jump right in. So today, I wanted to talk about butterflies. It's more specifically, you becoming a butterfly, AKA your highest self, your higher self. Now, believe it or not, these phases are pretty much the same, very similar, in fact. Let me show you what I mean. So, step one is becoming. So, in the beginning, you're starting off as a caterpillar, right? So you're low and slow to the ground. So for the purposes of this, the caterpillar is going to represent your lower three chakras. Okay? When you're trapped in your lower three chakras, you are worried about pleasure and you're more attached to the world, ego, all these worldly things. So it's easy for you to be pulled off path and distracted very easily. And when you're in your caterpillar phase, you give off a lot more energy because you're not in control of your emotions. Now, caterpillar phase varies as far as length, how long you want to stay there. 2 to 10% of caterpillars would actually turn into butterflies. 2 to 10%. So as I said, it's just like us. Same exact thing. A little less than 10%, that's for sure. But but the thing is it's 2 to 10% because of predators and so on, environment and the same exact things that prevent us from evolving. Same thing, same exact thing, right? So if you evolve, that means you put in the work. That means you went against extreme odds to get to where you are at. Let's put that in a number perspective. And we're just going to go with half of it. So we can go 5%, right? Right in the middle. So we're going to use 1,000 caterpillars. 1,000 caterpillars. That means only 50 caterpillars are going to turn into a butterfly. 50 out of 1,000. That's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. So that shows you how much work those 50 butterflies put in to get to where they're at. Out of 1,000 and you only get 50? So those butterflies are the stronger of the group. They're the most resilient of the group. Has to be. They evolved, right? So keep that in mind when you're in your caterpillar phase. Now, when I was in my caterpillar phase, I knew I wanted to evolve after receiving so much pressure. And because it was the pressure, I was like, I knew it has to be something more than this. Then I asked out loud, received my answer, got on my path. Once I got on the path, and I was on the path for a little while, I entered into the chrysalis phase. Now, the chrysalis phase is you going within. We're going to call that the dark night of the soul phase. During this phase, everything that you resisted, you suppressed, all of the lies that you agreed to, all these different things that need to be worked out are going to rise. They're going to, because they have no choice, because they're dense, dark, and heavy energies. And you're trying to transition into a light body. lighter. Pretty sure the butterfly weighs less than the caterpillar. It evolved. It became lighter. That's what you're doing in your chrysalis phase. You're going into that dark night of the soul. All of those traumas, fears, worries, doubts, anger, resentment, all of that energy that you have stored in your body is going to now rise up. So you can face it and say, you know what? I don't agree with that anymore. You know what? That was a limiting belief. No, that doesn't apply to me anymore. All these different things you're going to have to do in that chrysalis phase so that you can become that butterfly. But that chrysalis phase is mandatory. You have to have it. Without that chrysalis phase, I would not be who I am now. I needed all of that trauma, all of the lies, all of the deceiving, all of the betrayal, all of that pushed me to being who I am today. So I needed all of that. Without any of that, I wouldn't be who I am today. It's a fact. I needed that pressure. Now, the chrysalis phase is tricky. So when you're in your chrysalis phase and you're going within and you're handling all these issues, what you're doing is getting rid of what no longer serves. And as you do this, what you're going to notice is you're going to feel your vibration increasing. You're going to starting to become lighter. And that is you being given more energy, more light. If you're getting rid of that dark energy, then the light can come back in a little bit more. This is what's going on during that phase. So you need that pressure, right? And in this chrysalis phase is where you experience the most growth. This is where you get propelled forward from going within. Now, when I was on my journey, I confused a lot of people with being in the chrysalis phase. See, the chrysalis phase, like I said, you're going to have all these fears, anger, resentment, all these other different things rising up. This is when, if you notice somebody in their chrysalis phase and you want to provide assistance, okay, you know what I'm saying? If you've been through your chrysalis phase, and they're having problems, struggling, asking questions, this, that, and the other, that's the kind of assistance that is that you should be able to give. What I was doing, on the other hand, people were not in their chrysalis phase. So the pain and the drama and the stuff that they were experiencing was due to karma. Don't confuse somebody who's receiving karma with someone who's in a chrysalis phase. If someone is receiving karma and you jump in because you want to be helpful, as I did, and you love these individuals, and hey, it wasn't their problem, what's our problem? You know, when you're doing that, you're also going to receive some of that karma that they were supposed to receive. So whatever you were working towards, you just knocked over, because that karma is going to knock your energy down. So be careful about that. Galatians 6:5, for each one shall bear his own burden. You might want to assist individuals. I'm not saying be selfish, not at all. I'm saying if someone is receiving karma and you jump in, be prepared to receive some of that karma as well. It's a difference between someone being in the chrysalis phase and somebody receiving karma. Total different. It is completely different. So be careful. Another thing with the chrysalis phase, that is needed for you to spread your wings. You have to go through the pressure, the torture, the drama. All of that stuff is what builds you. It makes you stronger. Because on the other end of that, you're a butterfly. When, let's say you're going on a walk through the woods and you come across a tree and you just see a chrysalis on this tree. And you notice this butterfly is squeezing out of this chrysalis. He's struggling though. You see him struggling. You're like, man, you don't got to struggle so hard. Little guy got you. So you just rip open that chrysalis. Then you watch that butterfly fall to the ground and can barely move its wings. And you stay there and look for a little while, and you notice that butterfly just stopped moving and it just completely dies. Why? Because you interrupted its chrysalis phase. When somebody is going through something and you jump in, which I did for a lot of individuals, as I said, you're splitting that karma and you are also hindering them because now they don't get to experience the lesson that they were supposed to get from whatever they were going through. Each person must carry their own burdens. What they're going through, they have to get through to get to the other side to get that lesson out of it. If you jump in, then they don't get the lesson. So that's why I was surrounded by a lot of individuals who didn't have to change because I would always just constantly jump in. And it was me jumping in, saving them from their bad choices. So, as I said, be careful between karma and the chrysalis phase. Because you might think in your mind, oh, I'm gonna help this person out, but you really could be paralyzing them by you, quote unquote, helping them out. So go through that struggle, because on the other side of that struggle is your freedom. Because you helping that individual, aka opening up that chrysalis, that struggle that butterfly was going through, that butterfly had to go through. Because what happens when they're going through the chrysalis phase and they're starting to come out of that cocoon, that struggle is what pushes the fluids into their wings. So without that struggle, it does not complete its evolutionary phase. It's the same exact thing for us. Without that struggle, how are you going to be your highest and greatest version without going through all the chaos and the mayhem of knowing how to handle that, knowing how to deal with that, knowing how to balance your emotions, knowing what to do, how to respond, not react. These are all the different things that you're building up when you're going through these different things. But if somebody jumps in and saves you every single time, you do not have that experience. So how are you going to be your highest and greatest version if you don't have the experience to do that? If someone else is going through that same thing, you don't know how to give them proper advice because you were saved on it. How can you give somebody advice on something you were rescued on? So just keep that in mind. Go through your phase, and when you pop out the other end, now you're this beautiful butterfly, aka your higher self. Now, this is also a tricky part, because when you become your higher self and you're attached to certain individuals, trust and believe, I promise you, there are individuals in your life right now who think they're better than you. So if you evolve, become a butterfly, and they don't, that envy and jealous, they're going to do things to try to sink you. I don't care what that title is. Jealousy is a very powerful emotion, and people would do all kinds of things over jealousy. So when you become a butterfly, it is best for you to hang out with other butterflies. It's not saying you're better than the caterpillars, not at all. It's saying that, hey, I am on a different vibration, and if I associate myself with caterpillars, I'm going to lose that energy that I worked so hard to get. It's all energy. The universe loves balance. So let's look at the scale again. We're going to look at the higher self, the love column. Higher self, 400 to 539. So let's just say that's your butterfly phase, right? Now let's say somebody, caterpillar, we're going to drop on down here the lower ego self, 20 to 199. So at max, they're 199. At the lower end, you're 400. You're double what they are. Doesn't make you better. It just makes your vibration higher because you did the work. This person can do the exact same thing. If they choose not to, that is their choice. So you will live with that choice. Because there are a lot of individuals who want to be butterflies, but do not want to do the work. Because it is not easy to become a butterfly. It is not easy. And a lot of individuals have tried, and then they're like, no, it's too much work. And they get off. So be careful when you're trying to interact with butterflies or caterpillars. Because trust and believe, there are caterpillars in your circle that got some wings taped to their back. And these caterpillars are going to try to teach you how to do butterfly shit. like I'm gonna need you to go ahead and remove them tape from your wings and do the work. Because trust and believe, caterpillars will try to tell you how to do butterfly shit. Your response should be nothing. Just flap your little wings and just float on by them. It's not worth your time and energy to invest in that. Everything we do here is our choice. You want to evolve? That's your choice. You want to stay where you're at? That's your choice. I know the amount of work I had to do to get to where I am right now. I know the amount of work I had to do. So to get to the level of peace that I'm at right now, I had to sacrifice a lot of things that I was used to doing. But I knew what was on the other side of that. I knew once I came out of that chrysalis, everything else was going to be different. So I'm going to leave that there. It's up to you. It is your choice whether or not you want to be a caterpillar or a butterfly. I'm going to leave that there. And as always, if you got anything out of this message, actually like, subscribe, and I will definitely check you in the next one.